Okay, a big gratitude to ISOPON Security for having me. Um, I'm delightful to be here to share my expertise, my experience in what I do in InfoSec. Like we said, it's always good to give it back. Once you have acquired a lot, you have that experience, it's good to give it back to the community. So aside from what you've presented, I would like to say dwell much on the offensive side of InfoSec. So today we're going to look at briefly like the techniques that um, penetration tester or a hacker can use to bypass perimeter defensive mechanism like firewall, IDS, IPS. Like so, the plan is it will just be a general introduction on this defensive mechanism. We'll get an overview of the defensive mechanisms. Then we'll look at some techniques in detecting or evading these defensive mechanisms. Then at the end of the day, we'll just have a demo. It's not going to be something much, just something like you see live how we could use the technique social engineering, share to get the metapita session on our Metasploit in our academic notes. So as introduction, well, evasion of bypassing this defensive mechanism, when we are doing penetration testing, we always get this obstacle. Like there's a firewall blocking our packets not to get through. We get this open packet, closed packet, filter packet. When we use our tools to get an idea about the configuration of the network, and this always stands as an obstacle in our testing, in our scrutinizing, to scrutinize the system. Once you get to this stage, is kind of like another way to start thinking, how can I bypass this? How can I get to this? So these devices are there in order to defend against such bad packets, such adversaries with bad intent. So they are there for good. But now, if we malconfigure them, if we do things that could easily get these bad intent people, like malicious people, get through because of our malconfiguration, is a problem. So evasion is that process of avoiding or bypassing an object. So this technique, attacker, they use it to bypass our security system in cybersecurity space. And like I said, some administrators, they don't patch up their system on time. So they leave out my malconfigured devices out there, which is a suitable juicy ground for hackers. Now in the physical world, we have like in a bank, you could say anywhere that you have sensitive data or data that is not public, you always have people securing that data. So you have a security guy. You see this image. You have a security guy. He has his tools. These are tools for detection. These are tools of like if there's an incident, he will alert. So he has his tools. He knows his job. He knows what to allow in. He knows what to allow out. This is kind of like what we have in the cyberspace in our corporate network. We have devices that are there to secure our data. Our data is supposed to be private. Our data is sensitive. Is supposed to have that confidentiality, integrity, availability. So physical where you have this, all of us you know this. This is a security guard. He has his tools. The same like yeah, so we have this network kind of like, from the internet, you have the router that merges two or more networks. You have the firewall before getting into the internet network. For this firewall to also see the bad packets, the packets that will be allowed or disallowed, the packets that will be denied. And you have this firewall. Even after the firewall, we have this intrusion detection system. So if there's an intrusion, we want to detect it, and we want to like okay we make it in such a way that you will not get into the system. So those that are incident handling management team, they are going to like, oh, there's an intrusion, we have work to do. We have to like we make it not to get into where it's going, and we try to understand what it was so that we we detect it the next time and we prevent it from happening. Aside from this, you can also have IPS. IDS, IPS, they can go hands in glove. You can use not like to configure those stuff. Now, with all this in place, we still have vulnerabilities out there. Lately, we have these vulnerabilities in Fortinet. We have authentication bypass, which was a critical vulnerability. Get that interface of the admin, which you can configure the firewall yourself. That was so juicy for any hacker to get, for him to have total control over the network. Then we have another Sophos XG115W firewall, like you see it on the screen. It was also an authentication bypass this year. So upon all the means that we are putting through, upon all the means that we put in place to secure our network, we still have things that are happening out of our own will, things that we don't like seeing, things that will cost us billions of dollars. We see lost data, we see have data breaches. So this is like an awareness for you to know that these things happen. And it happens all by doing, the hackers are doing their work. The hackers, they are every day, they will do work, they do research, they scrutinize your system to see the loopholes. They do everything to get into your network. So, like we are going to see today, how do they detect the device? What do you have as defensive mechanism in your network? Is it a firewall? Is it an IDS? Is it an IPS? If so, what types? To identify the various vulnerabilities that are being found in that device is due to that vulnerability that will enable them to, tweak tools that are always available, or they create their tools to hack in. So they identify these vulnerabilities mostly using, the well-renowned vulnerability scanner is Nessus. It's pretty good. They are much more than Nessus. I think it's a really good tool to use to find out the vulnerabilities in the systems. And also they'll have techniques, obviously, that they identify the techniques that will work to take advantage of these devices. And in the penetration testing world, before you go do it physically, you have to try it out in a virtual environment. So always try out your techniques in a virtual environment. This is what they do most of the times. So you make sure you have the necessary authority to carry out various tests. If you want to test, like before going and do it physically, before doing the hands-on the real environment, but it's always a good question. Like this is being repeated on my slide. I always make sure you have the authority to test all the stuff you're going to discuss here, or whatever you're researching on a virtual environment before you go live. Now, this is a picture of an attacker. He's trying to get into an internal network. How will he bypass the firewall, the IDS, the various defensive mechanisms that are there? So he will try like over and over again. And it is not impossible, it is always possible. All we need is just time, resources that will enable us to really dig inside into it, to really get the loopholes and to bypass it. It is not impossible, it is very possible. So this is another image, like a penetration tester. Penetration tester will try to test the type of firewalls that are there, the corporate network, how is it configured, what ports are open, what the applications are installed, all those stuff. You do all the testing to make sure that at least you have a minimum rates. Okay, so a defensive mechanism, as I was saying, all systems are vulnerable to attacks. What you need is just time. You just need that determination. You just need to be goal driven. What's your goal behind it? You want to get out the data, you want to get out the sensitive data, you want to use it for deformation, you want to use it like for extort money. It depends on your goal. But time, resources, and determination will get you there. So if administrators are out there, they should be aware. They should be aware of the various patches. Make sure you patch your system. Like you have to really be careful. You have to check on the various sites where they post these vulnerabilities, they post these exploits. So make sure that you're up to date with your device. So we know that human factors are still the weakest thing in any defensive system. We know that us humans, our own way of behaving is quite different from the devices, even though we configure the devices, but most of the time someone can get the most out of you by pity, by situations. So always remain the weakest factor in any defensive mechanism. And most of the times, that is the easiest way to bypass that defensive mechanism. And today we are going to see that. So we also have configuration errors. They are still reality. They are still there. So we take advantage of these configuration errors. So firewall, IPS, IDS, router, they can be bypassed. It is not impossible. It is very possible by using some cool techniques. You know, the meta attack framework, it shows us how to go about, like how attackers they undergo an attack. They start by doing some reconnaissance. They start by doing some enumeration. They see what is there, what services are available, what ports are available. Are there some vulnerabilities? Are there some juicy cans that we can really take advantage of? Those things will still be there no matter how technology advances, but we still have the same technique that we use to get into systems. Now, this is a soldier. He's with the gun. Like he wants to. He is trying to get to the target. So he's taking his time. He has to focus. There are techniques that this guy uses. I'm sure those that are not soldiers or those of us that we have never used gun before, we have never been in a war front, you bear with me that these guys, they know the technique, they know the positioning, they know how to do this stuff. They have their tools, they have everything set up. So they know how to get to the target. It's the same thing that we do in the cyberspace. We know the tools that we need. If those tools are not there, we might not get to our target. If those tools are not there, if those tools are not there, we'll not be able to, get to our target, get our objectives, fulfill our goal. So this guy has really taken his time out to pick out the necessary tools. He knows the location, he knows the position, he knows how he's going to position like everything. In fact, he's just perfect in doing all this. So this is a mindset, this is the same scenario that we have to take in order to, bypass the system, carry out this reconnaissance, know what is there, trying our techniques, what will work, what could not work, all those things is the same thing. Next slide. Now, talking of tools, I know there are myriad of tools there, are tons of tools there, but the most common ones are like, HP3, we use it for network scanning, scan the network, was there or is not there. We have our famous Nmap. We have like, Chesaro to know if a firewall exists in a corporate network or not. Chesaro can help us out. Nmap can help us out. HP can help us out. And of more of like, it's not recent, but commonly used nowadays is Python tool. We use Skippy. Skippy is a very nice library. It help us to generate packets. We can configure those packets. Not going the norms way, but going instead the reverse way to see what happens. To really you decode those return packets to see what is really happening. So those are tools that help us, to detect and to bypass some common norms that was being set out by those firewalls, those ideas. These tools are what we take in. These are our tools that we use in order to carry out such attacks. Now, the techniques that we use for evading, exploiting, or detecting, we have this common, I can call them old techniques, but don't be surprised that they might still work in some of our firewalls today that we set up in our networks. So if you're a penetration tester, you should not leave these things out. You should always try out them. Don't be surprised that some might work and some might not work because things are advancing. But you always tweak it out for it to work. Never give up, just have that determination and keep pushing through. So the first one, we have fragmented packets. Some firewalls, they are configured in such a way that they don't look at these fragmented packets. So if you scan a network and you do things like, okay, the maximum transmissible unit is normally say 1,500 bytes on internet, where you create it like IP packets for it to be abnormal, and you see the response. From the response, you can decode it, you analyze it, you know the type of firewall that is there, you know what is happening. You could also use you spoof packets, you use decoys, you just randomize them. But take note that these decoys they should be online, if not you cause a DOS on your own system. Your computer might freeze out. So you can use decoys packets to find out like what's happening in the network. Normally, firewalking, that's what we use to get an idea of what type of defensive mechanism do you have, what kind of defensive device is there. So you can bypass firewall, use IP spoofing. If there are some whitelists of IPs and blacklists of IPs, you could spoof that whitelist so that your packet to pass through. We say likewise MAC addresses. You can use the authorized MAC address for it to pass through. Nmap will help you with that. SCPA in Python will help you with that. HPM3 will help you with that. You can also use a different lane. So the data lane option in Nmap could also be used to get an idea of what is in that corporate network. By doing this, you get to know the tools, you get to know what you are supposed to use in order to bypass, or what you're going to use in order to get to your target. So these are kind of like the tools like in the picture we saw earlier where we saw the soldier targeting his target. These are what we also have to carry out in order to know the positioning, the timing, how to position ourselves, how to set out everything. These are the tools, these are things we do, these are things we use. Now, the next one, we could also bypass the firewall using malicious content. We can construct a Trojan, like with a Trojan horse construction kit, in order to get to our target without the firewall being aware. So we can bypass the firewall to do all the stuff. And like I said, the most easiest one is social engineering, because humans, they will still remain the weakest link in any defensive system. The other one that is kind of like interesting and also kind of like reliable is the tunneling method. Most of the times our firewalls, they have some default ports that they leave for maybe administration, maybe because we have a website and we want to allow our users to access our website, and it is very normal and logical that we allow users to access our website. So there are certain ports that normally we allow for those things. We have port 80, we use port 80 for web traffic, it should be allowed. We have port 443, that's for HTTPS. We have 8080, that's web traffic. We have port 22 for SSH, remote administration. 23 Telnet, most of the times will be closed because it's weak, it doesn't have security, transfer data on clear text, so you could easily pick out some sensitive stuff there. So tunneling method is a method in which we take advantage of this fact, this idea, mostly SSH. SSH most of the times is open because we need to, remotely configure that system. We need to access it remotely. We have our SSH share, the passwords are encrypted and all the like. So we take advantage of this fact and we tunnel all the malicious content within that tunnel to the other side. Once the other side executes it, we are in. Yeah, that's the method. So, like I was saying, this diagram explains like overall that tunneling concept. So most of the time, some firewall, they don't check the payloads in this packet because it's been allowed. That is okay, this traffic will allow it. That was the rule. The boss said so. So we're going to respect the boss. So most of the time they don't pay attention of the payload of this HTTP packet. So it's been sent to the other side, it bypasses firewall. And once it's unwrapped, the command executes it locally, and the output in the payload of this packet, it will send back. It could be a shell, it could be a reverse shell, it could be a metapictor that we open in our Kali Linux, like what we'll see in the demo. So in general, we should be aware of these techniques. We should be aware of the fact that with time, with determination, being goal driven, you could bypass a defensive mechanism. And if you're doing penetration testing, once you've gotten to the stage of post exploitation, these techniques could also help you to get more information. So this presentation is just to let you know on the general techniques that are available that you could use in order to know more of your corporate network, in order to know some good techniques that you could use to bypass those firewalls. In order for you to scrutinize the network well, such that you enrich your report, in order for you to be aware of the fact that you have to patch up your firewall. If you are an administration in a like in, you manage a network, you have a firewall there like Fortinet, which is common, I think so. The Cisco network, yeah, that one is also common. You should know that you have to patch it up. You should know that you have to be aware of the vulnerabilities that are in it, and you should always take time out to scrutinize the system. So if you have not been doing that, if you have not been having like security audit, or a penetration tester coming there to scrutinize the system to make sure that okay, these are the risks that you have, then I think you should start doing that. So this is just to make you to be aware that even if you do all those things, watch out, because there might be someone that will take out time, the resource, and go doing that will still get to you. Remember, human beings are the weakest link in any defensive mechanism. Now, the demo is going to be straightforward. We are just going to see like this social engineering, because what I'm going to do is to use the power of PowerShell. You know, we have this new concept from Microsoft. They have this PowerShell. With PowerShell, you can do a lot of stuff, and it's also vital in FreeSec. It's vital, especially for the defensive or offensive security. It is vital. It is very, very vital. So we are going to use the power of PowerShell to get a Metapreter session on our offensive side, like Kali Linux or Parrot or anything you want to use. Now, this disclaimer is just for you to be aware that what I'm going to show here is just for educational purpose. Is an awareness. So if you want to do the same thing, which I advise you to do, you should do it in your own configure lab, like you know you have VirtualBox, you have VMs, or you could buy a space. I don't know if there are free spaces on the cloud for you to carry out testing on this stuff, to learn, to practice. You know, cybersecurity is all about doing hands-on. It's not just reading, but you have to do something for you to get the techniques, for you to get the know-how. So you could use a cloud, you get a space, and you do your own tests there. Now this demo, what we made is like a VM, like I said, offensive system like Kali Linux, Parrot. Yeah, I'm sure there are others. We made Windows Server 2016 because this vulnerability is is in Windows Server 2016. Um, so if you have Windows Server 2016 out there, you should be careful. You have to patch it up, because what I'm going to show now is vulnerable in Windows Server 2016. Due to time constraint, I'm not going to do the second demonstration. I had two in mind. I'll do the first. The second one was to show that HTTP tunneling concept. You know, I was going to use this HTTP port and HTTP host to see how the tunneling works. Like if we have a firewall that's blocking traffic, but we can still bypass that using HTTP tunnel. It's easy. So if you have time, you could do this. You could get the HTTP port is an application. The host and the port is like client server. You install them on the various servers. You try to block the file, then you try out this. You see how it works. It's really cool. So what I need is just basic usage of the command line. Like if you have technicians out there, what I'm going to do, it should be very easy for them. So we are going to go into demo now. Demo. It's my career. Okay, let me share my screen. Oh, share screen. Okay. So this is my VM career notes. Okay. And now, if you get to a terminal, this requires some root privilege, so do take a root privilege. Now what I want to do is let me get to David remove this, develop this cool social engineering toolkit for us to use to do social engineering. Now, as you can see, this is the menu. We have social engineering, penetration testing, everything is there, but we need social engineering attacks. So choose the first one. And what we need, like I was saying, is a PowerShell. So if you, I know all pen testers out there or InfoSec people, they can really do coding. So if you really have time, you could do it yourself. You develop this PowerShell script. It's a PowerShell script. It's just a code that you're going to you code it and you send it to your victim. You can send it to your victim now through various means. It could be embedded in an image. It could be sent as a link. Social engineering, the stuff. I'm sure there was even a presentation yesterday on social engineering. Those techniques, you know it already. So my PowerShell. Now, what we need is this shellcode injector. So we are going to take advantage of the vulnerability in Windows Server 2016. So we are going to generate this shellcode injector. Once we generate this shellcode injector, we are going to send it to our victim. So C1, now the IP address, let me just check IP address. Okay, 209.129. Six nine 249.169 249.129. Okay, good. Yeah, I want to use 443. So it's doing everything now, generating the code with just automation on that aspect. After that, it's going to start the Metasploit. And we also, okay, let's listen for the share so that if our victim, so we are sending bait and we expect our victim to bite. So if they bite, you're going to get a meta session. So yeah, I want to listen. So it has been generated already. It's in this directory. Root.set report PowerShell. So I need access here. Okay, so this is the code. It's kind of like blah blah. If you just see it on the screen, it's something like this. That's kind of like code. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to copy that. Since this is a demo, we can do it easily. Like, I can just copy it to my team, transfer it to the other side. Connect to the drum machine. Copy. Just on the desktop so that we'll see there is a desktop. So now Okay. Copy. Now, in a normal, in a real world scenario, it cannot be done like this. This script can be embedded, like I said, in an image. You could have various techniques that you can embed this, and you send it to your victim to entice the victim to click on it. Now, Windows Server 2016, it's a vulnerable system. Windows Server 2016. Okay. Come here. We want partial. Partial. Yeah, we need our code here. So we need a flash here. If we can do this. I have to disconnect it. Scan it. This one is this one we have. Let's see how value looks. Okay, see listening started and I started the meta spread. So that's the expert. So we are waiting for the meta session. So once I enter, close the button, please. So you have entered it, means you have executed that script. We have our meta session. Okay, so if you type sessions, okay, that's our payload is back to us. So now you see we have our metapreter session. It's open. So we have entered the script and we press enter. PowerShell will not do anything, just open and close. So you know you experience nothing, nothing happened here. But we already have full of the system. We have metapreter session here already. So we type sessions. That's the metapreter session. Sessions one. You're there. Now you're in. So you see the various common interpreter. So you say get system, elevate your post expectation. Attempt to elevate your privilege to that of local system. Get system. got system through Technique One. So you're good, you have the derivation. So that is it for the demo. You can do well, you can try it out. You have so many stuff. If you have webcam, you could do webcam. Everything for those that know interpreter session, it's so cool to have this as a tool. So I think that is it. That is it for the demo. That was just to show you how easy